Welcome back, man. We are on XCSR, Towson Student Radio, and this is Visionary Collectives. And today, man, we have a very special guest. We have a world seeker here today. So, let's give it a round of applause for Grace Moore.
Thank you.
How you doing today?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
You see how that rhymed? that rhymed a little bit. But yeah, today we're going to get into a very special guest star from the Towson University Study Abroad. Just tell us, a little bit about what study abroad is to you.
So, okay. The actual paper definition, studying abroad, is doing an academic program or an internship outside of the United States. But I think to me, it's something more than that. It's developing cultural knowledge. It's seeing the world. It's trying new things. Mm-hmm. It's expanding your worldview, expanding your horizons, and really just making the most out of your time in college.
Okay, making the most time. So, how have you, made the most time out of your experiences, especially abroad?
Yeah, so I've done 2 study abroad programs. So my freshman year, I did a program through the Study Abroad No Way office. It was led by 2 of the Italian professors here.
Okay.
It was Italian language and culture in Venice, Italy. So it was over winter break. And then that experience, I loved it. I had so much fun. So this past summer, I did our global internship program. Mm-hmm. So I was able to go to Rome for 2 months, and I had a international business internship there.
Okay, so tell us a little bit more about, this international business affairs that you had in Italy.
About my internship?
Yeah.
Okay, so my internship, it was at an organization, it's called INSME, but it's the International Network for Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises. So, to put it shortly, it's an organization, it's a nonprofit that works with the European Union to work on projects for innovation and entrepreneurship and digitalization for small and medium businesses, most around the world, but mostly around Europe and the European Union. So I was sort of doing project assistance on that, working with a couple different things, working on project proposals, reading through calls for project proposals, which was a lot of reading really long legal jargon, but it was a good experience. And then one of my biggest projects was called IP for SMEs. It was sort of educating SMEs on intellectual property laws, especially as they're moving to internationalize.
And so okay, when you're studying that, so how was the difference, between let's say, studying here at Towson, international business law, rather, in your, here, and then rather in your internship abroad studying that, was there a difference?
I felt so I had learned a little bit about, international intellectual property law in one of my business law courses here. When I say a little bit, I mean it was 2 paragraphs in one page of the textbook. It was yes, it exists worldwide, but we're going to focus on how it works in the U.S.
Okay.
Versus then actually going abroad and speaking to people, and I spent countless hours doing something that was 2 paragraphs in my book. And it's there's really a whole world of it out there that I just couldn't experience here. And especially with it being in Italy, which is part of the European Union, and having my coworkers who have lived and worked there their entire lives, I just really got a perspective on international affairs and European Union affairs that would just be impossible to get in the United States.
And so would you encourage someone that's wanting to, I guess, wanting to go abroad and actually learn about international business law? What would be the one thing that you would tell them?
I would tell them, if they're a Towson student, to come do Study Abroad No Way group advising every day at 2 p.m. in Psychology Building, room 408.
Okay.
But really, I would tell them, just do research, find out what's out there, and just don't be afraid to take a leap and pursue opportunities that are maybe out of your comfort zone. Because especially in a field like law, it's a daunting field. You can't really be afraid in the law. So doing something like studying abroad or interning abroad to build your confidence is not just going to help you build like technical knowledge of the law, but also help you get the personality that you need to go to law school to be a lawyer.
Mm-hmm. And so, like, what are the key factors that you felt that you took away from being in that experience? So let's say, like, so you now have like kind of like a groundbreaking, like, I don't know, like you kind of have like a higher like skill set now that you've been abroad and actually understood, rather than someone that's still here at the United States. If that makes sense to you.
I have a different
perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Like, what would you say is like, okay, now I got this skill set?
I feel like cross-cultural communication is a big one. That's not really specific to like being in Italy. It's more just of studying abroad in general. And like now on my resume, I mean, it says I've worked internationally, which kind of just proves to people in the future, like, I can handle myself. You don't need to hold my hand if I'm doing an internship. Like, you kind of have this way of demonstrating that you're capable, that you can be confident, that you're independent. I mean, obviously I built more language skills being abroad, which just kind of sets me apart a little bit.
Okay. So talking about, language skills. So how did you go about, learning, let's go from the start. How did you learn, why did you pick Italian, as the language?
Yeah. So what happened, I came into Towson. I was a business admin major, entrepreneurship concentration.
Okay.
If you can guess, that's not what I am now. And I took Italian 101 to fulfill one of my core requirements. I just thought, I've taken French and Spanish in like middle school and high school. Okay, like whatever, I'll just pick something different. So I picked Italian. And I was just completely shocked by how much I enjoyed it. I had really never enjoyed learning a language that much. And, like, I don't know if it's Italian specifically or I just had really good professors, but I just completely, like, fell in love with the language. And that's what made me decide I'm going to keep doing this and I'm going to do it in Italy. So that was my fall semester, and then winter break, I did the program going to Venice. And that was with my Italian professor from my 101 class. It was a very smooth transition for me. And then I loved that experience so much. I got back to Towson spring semester freshman year, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to change my concentration to international business.
Got you.
And then that's how I got sort of how I am now.
Okay, so with, learning that language, what has been like some, I guess you could say, barriers learning that language? Okay.
As I get further into the language, I mean, it gets a lot tougher, a lot of the grammar. It's also hard to learn a language in a classroom and not have that, you're not picking up maybe on some of the, like, the street slang, things like that, and really have to force yourself to talk about topics that maybe you don't want to. Like, you have to talk about, like, I don't know, like one unit is like making travel plans. We all had to go around the room and talk about like our dream vacations and what kind of hotels we would book and things like that. And I'm like, okay, I really don't feel like talking about like my dream vacation right now.
Right.
But it's like you kind of have to, just so you can learn those words and learn how to say things, when maybe if you were actually in Italy where people are speaking on the street, that's not necessarily the type of vocabulary you'd be picking up.
Okay, and that brings me to my next point. So immersion, right? Immersing into the, the culture of, well, I guess you could say Italians, So what was it like trying to, I guess, put yourself, I guess, inside an Italian mind for a day while you're there?
It's tough. I mean, I had dipped my toes in the water of like Italian culture in my classes. We talked a lot about it. And then being at Venice the first time. But again, that was only a couple weeks, and I was with a group of other Towson students. So I kind of had like Americans to fall back on if I wanted to. And even though like I had a lot of American friends in my internship, like cohort over the summer, it was a little different. I was still working full time in an Italian office. So I really had to try and immerse myself. it was tough figuring out, you know, the working culture just being different. People, okay, I'm going to generalize, but I would say it's a little bit more relaxed in a lot of ways than the US working culture. Yeah, it was like, oh, and this doesn't apply to every field, but it was like, oh yeah, you can roll in between 9 and 10. We'll take an hour and a half for lunch. We'll all just go get pizza together. We'll just sit, we'll chat. If we take too long, whatever. You can leave 4:30, whenever you want. Like,
okay.
And I've never had a job like that in the US. It's always like, it's never like, oh, just kind of roll in. It's always like, okay, no, like the phone needs to be turned off voicemail. Like you need to answer the emails. Be there right at 8, which is like not a bad thing. It's just different there. And I think it's maybe just placing a bit more of an emphasis on like taking your time to things. And then there's obviously the things like, there's like the little things, like they don't drink iced coffee there, which
I've heard about that.
Like, it's not like that big of a deal, but if you drink iced coffee every single day, like I do, then switching, and in the middle of summer, and it's 100 degrees, and everyone's drinking cappuccinos, and I'm like, can someone just get me like a cold brew from Dunkin'? But you kind of just have to like deal with it, and it can be frustrating, but that's just part of the culture. And now I'm much more of a coffee snob, and I definitely get into it now.
And so, you know, going through Towson University, right, as you're going through Towson University's program for the study abroad program, what were the steps like, you know, getting to that departure point, and then when you finally get there, or like just the pre-departure.
Like, how was the pre-departure?
Yeah, how was it actually?
Both times I was so scared. I'm gonna be blunt. I literally was so terrified. I thought, I'm gonna forget any Italian that I know. I'm not gonna make friends. I'm gonna get lost. I'm gonna get pickpocketed. I was like, every single thing is gonna go wrong. Even if I like practically knew, like it probably won't. Like I just like really was like, this is gonna be so bad. Like I'm so scared. I'm gonna be away from home. And then getting there, it's not like that. I mean, both times I made friends so quickly. Made some of my best friends. The entire world, both times. Never got pickpocketed, had fun. Sometimes you can miss home a little bit, but I really like overhype it in my mind of how bad it's going to be, and then it never is.
So did Towson University, did they, like, you know, did the study abroad program, did they make it like an ease to the students' mind?
Yeah. No, they offer a lot of resources. You can always, if like you're abroad and you're having issues, you can always like reach out to us. We'll give you support. I just overhyped it myself. But I especially felt like on my faculty-led program, having that kind of built-in support system, especially that being my first time really in a foreign country without my family, I was very glad I had that to fall back on. And so, like, I could always go to my professors when I needed help with anything.
Okay. Yeah. So, you know, gaining that insight abroad, right? And then coming back and working for study abroad. So, tell us about, you know, coming back home. How was it coming back home and working for study abroad? Yeah,
so how I kind of got into this position, I got back, it's the spring semester of my freshman year. And there's a study abroad fair every semester. And I got like an email saying, like, oh, we need volunteers. I was like, I'll volunteer. Like, I'll sit and yap to people for an hour about how much I loved being in Italy. And I was sitting there, and I don't know, I get chatting with two of the staff members from the study abroad and away office, and they say, oh, well, we're hiring for next semester. You should apply. And I went, okay. And then I waited until the application opened up. And then I applied. I've like actually never been so stressed about a job application because I wanted that job so bad. And now I've been there. This is my third semester working there, and it's just like the best job I've ever had. It's so fun. I get excited to go into work every day.
Like, hey, I'm going to work.
Yeah. No, it's like that. Even if it's like an 8 a.m. shift, I'm like, I don't care if I'm going to campus at 8 a.m. Like, I'm doing something I love. Getting to like help students do the same things that have brought me so much joy it just brings me more satisfaction than money ever could. I mean, I get paid, but like I really get so much out of it just from doing the work that I'm like, I would never trade that job for anything else.
So what would be like, you don't gotta tell us everything, but like what would be like one task that you find interesting when you're working there?
Yeah. One thing that I work on a lot with one of our staff members and our graduate assistant is our social media. So getting to just like, it can be like silly sometimes, being like, oh, I get so excited to make a post about a scholarship announcement. But it's like, it's really fun. Like, okay, someone could see this and apply for that scholarship and get it. Like, I really feel like I have a lot of control and power in that way. But then also some of the more like on paper, like fun things, like, we've done like scavenger hunts around campus a couple times now, and I'm the one that like came up with that idea the first time.
Actually, hey, I found one of them,
found one.
But I didn't get the scholarship.
No.
But hey, it's cool though.
But I left it in Stevens Hall, and I was like, I hope someone I know finds this one. Yeah, doing like scavenger hunts and things like that, getting to kind of like play a part in increasing the visibility of study abroad on campus. And even going along with that, like today I went to like 2 different classes and like did a little presentation for them about different options relating to that class. Just things like that. I mean, yeah.
Okay, so learning another language especially, is important, right, in their culture. So I've heard, you earned a certification in Italian language from the institution of like it's called
Istituto Venezia.
Oh, okay. Wait, say that again for the
Istituto Venezia.
Istituto Venezia.
Yeah, it's that's just Venice Institute in Italian.
Okay.
It was so on the faculty-led program that I did my freshman year. That's the language school that you go to take classes every day. And that it was really cool. I mean, it was my first time in like a school that wasn't American. And it was structured so differently than any other language class I'd ever taken. It was like just a lot of like freelance conversation, which was terrifying if I didn't know what to say, and I have no like notes or like PowerPoint or anything to fall back on, but like so beneficial for my language skills. Like I really am never gonna forget a lot of the things I learned there.
Tell me how to say pizza. Tell me how
La
to say
pizza?
La pizza. So is it Spanish? Is Italian Spanish, but like you got a little twist?
Italian is not Spanish, no.
No, that's not Spanish. So it's not like a little bit like Espanol, but
okay. If you know Spanish, it's gonna be a lot easier for you to pick up Italian.
Okay.
But this is a trick sometimes where there can be like 2 words that exist in Italian and Spanish, but they have different meanings. And so sometimes it can actually be a little bit like harmful if you assume that everything's going to be like Spanish, because it won't be. It's different.
And so you got that under control. So like, have you felt that learning that language and getting that certification, has it being at that school, has it opened doors for connections or deeper connections with the Italians or people that also want to learn this language?
Yeah, I feel like getting to, and it's happened in Rome, getting to tell people like, I really care about learning your language and appreciating your culture. Like, I'm not just here on vacation. Like, I have a deeper purpose in coming here, and I can demonstrate that by saying, and I've been here before to learn your language. And kind of just getting to like, tell people that. I think it can be frustrating sometimes if people think, oh, you're only coming to my country because you want to look at the Trevi Fountain and eat gelato, and like you don't really care about like learning our language or like history or anything like that. But it's not how I am. And getting to just kind of tell people like I really care about this, and I have a way of showing that. And then like in the U.S., I think, obviously it looks really cool to people to say, I've studied a language abroad, like I've done it. In the country of his like origin. Yeah.
So who would be like the master splinter to you? Like who like would be like, hey, who trained you? Like, I guess in Italian. Like, if you go on like on YouTube, they have podcasts now, or they have like you could go. There's so many ways of learning it. Like, what has been your main source? Like, Duolingo Warriors.
Yeah. Duolingo is not my favorite thing. It was when I was like first starting, like 101, and now I'm like, I put in something, it'll be like, oh, what's the word for this? And I'll put in one word because that's what I know, and they're like, oh, it's actually the other version. And I'm like, oh, the one that no one uses? Like, I'm saying what people actually say. I think it's because Duolingo does not teach you the same things that like a classroom does. It's just different. Honestly, like the Italian professors here at Towson have been like Professor Brenna. They're both amazing. Helped me so much. I mean, there's a reason I've continued to take their classes and kept with the minor. More in like my free time, there's like little things. Like sometimes I'll set my TikTok to be in Italian, just because then it makes me like if I'm scrolling in like the middle of the night, I'm like, okay, let me start learning a language. I have a couple TV shows I like. Sometimes I've watched The Office, like, dubbed in Italian.
So those are, like, your little your tricks, like, how you learn.
Setting social medias to be another language is useful.
So you know how to read a little bit.
I mean, I'm in the advanced classes here.
Oh, snap.
That tells I mean, I can read pretty well. I get by.
So, like, how close are you to fluency? Like?
Okay, fluency is a high level to achieve. I would not put myself anywhere close to fluent. Because I feel like to me fluent means I can just seamlessly transition. And I cannot do that. I do have to like really like turn on my brain still. I would put myself still at like
intermediate.
Yeah, upper end of intermediate.
Upper end.
If I'm at Towson, if I'm actually like in Italy,
your brain's forced.
It's like off and on. Like sometimes it's like I get so panicked I forget things. But then after, like when I first got to Rome this summer, there were a couple times where my brain literally like shut off because I was so scared I was gonna like say the wrong thing. Where I'm like, oh my gosh, why can I not remember the word for like please? But then after being there, like I get more comfortable and then it comes much easier.
Got you. I like that. So, like, because I want to learn Spanish. I want, like, so what would be, like, the first place I need to go to learn Spanish? Like, what would I need to do? To learn another language, what would I need to do? Go there and immerse myself? Or...
That's the best thing, honestly. Yeah.
Immersing myself.
Really, there's nothing in the world that can beat immersion. Nothing. Like, if you want to learn a language, that is number one, the best way to do it. Obviously, that's difficult to do. Just like realistically, like I mean, like we all have like jobs in school. Like, how much time can you spend going somewhere else? Which is why I say like when you have the chance in college to do it, like do it now. Other than that, like just doing little things in your life to get as close to that as you can. Which is why I'm saying like set your phone for another language, watch your favorite TV show in another language, things like that. Just try and expose yourself to it as much as you can. Even if you don't understand what they're saying on the TV show, it has like subliminal effects, honestly, just like hearing the sounds and things like that. Like you don't always know what your brain is absorbing. So just hearing another language as much as possible is like the best thing you can do.
I feel like that's a superpower, like, cause I don't know. I would love to have that superpower too. You know what I'm saying?
If I could speak every single language in the world,
that would be crazy.
That is my dream superpower.
So, like, what were the people like over there? Like, were they nice? Were they mean? Like,
so nice.
So nice.
So nice. That's also the thing with like language. In Italy, I can't speak for every country, but like if I spoke to someone in broken Italian, nobody ever got mad at me for not being like, oh, you're saying it wrong, you're saying it wrong, you're mispronouncing it, like, why don't you know our whole language? People are so like, oh, like you're trying, like they're so excited by it. People were so friendly. I really didn't meet any mean Italians.
Okay, and my next thing is like, how does Italian meet business law? Like, how do you even put that together? Like, what?
Like in my future career now.
Yeah,
Well, I feel like now, I feel like my internship was like the perfect like cohesion of those, because I got to be in Italy working in an Italian office, but then also doing like business law in a way, working with like intellectual property and kind of like learning a little bit more about how the European Union is affecting trade. But here at Towson, I kind of just have to
foreign affairs.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, yeah. But like here at Towson, it's a little bit more difficult because I don't know how many other people have the same combo of Italian minor, business law minor that I do. I think it might just be me. So I kind of have to force it a little bit. A good part about my Italian classes here is I feel like there's a lot, especially up like in the getting to the higher levels, there's a lot of room to sort of learn what you want to learn. We have a lot of projects where it'll be like you need to research we had one project we were talking about like gender roles in Italy, and the assignment was to research and make a presentation on a famous Italian woman. And so I picked the Prime Minister of Italy, because then I got to sort of be able to go out of my way and learn some more legal terms, learn more about the structure of the Italian government while still actually be doing my assignment. I just have to like carve it out for myself and really be intentional about what I'm trying to research and what I'm trying to learn. Yeah.
So is it like fun? Do you like learning like different, I guess you could say, Italian policy or government? Because I know, again on the prime ministers, so I know like, different countries have that type of system set up. Like, how we have president of the United States.
Yeah. Yes, different other countries, I like to learn about it. I think it's really interesting. And then to compare how that affects like their lawmaking and how that is affecting people's daily lives. And I don't necessarily think that one system is like better or worse than others, but I just think it's interesting to compare them. Yeah.
So with the prime minister system, is it like there's like a queen or a king, or is it like, how does that work?
So Giorgia Meloni, I'm like roughly translating her job title prime minister, but it's similar. I mean, I guess if you wanted, I'm going to generalize a lot. Right. If you're thinking about like the way that like the United Kingdom is, where they have like a prime minister and then they also have like a parliament, it's a lot closer to that. If that makes sense.
Parliament.
Versus like in the U.S. we have like Congress and the Senate. We have bicameral legislature.
Gotcha.
And then the president is like a separate branch. Again, it's a little complicated. I'm generalizing.
Gotcha. Hey, so this is actually a great starting point for we have a quick break, and we're definitely about to get back into that business law in a little bit. Just give us 1 second. All right, man, we're going to go to a break. This is XCSR, Towson Student Radio, and this is Visionary Collectives. See you there. All right. Welcome back, and we are on XCSR, Towson Student Radio, and this is Visionary Collectives. So, I'm sorry, y'all, for, the quick break. I really wanted to, talk about, her and actually her club that she has as the president of the, TU Business Law Club here at Towson University. So, let's start from the beginning. How did you get into that? Like, what made you start that club?
So, my spring semester freshman year, I took Legal 225, Legal Environment of Business, because it was required. And I was like completely shocked by how much I liked that class. That was, I think to this day, like the most fun I've ever had in a class. I was like excited to do my homework every night. I like really loved that class. And closer to the end of the semester, maybe like March or April, I had Professor John Seeberger, and he said in class one day, we're going to form, like the university's going to form a business law club. There's going to be an interest meeting for anyone who wants to help found it. And it was right after class, and I was like, I'll go to that. Like, I like this class. I really enjoy learning about this. Like, if this is an opportunity to continue learning about business law, like, why not? So I went to the interest meeting and kind of talked about, like, what do we want this club to be? Like, what's the kind of structure we're looking for? And basically the consensus from everyone who attended the interest meeting was like, okay, we're going to like an exec board, we want to do speakers, that kind of thing. And so then the next meeting we did, or like a meeting or two later, I remember, we did elections, and I ran for secretary. There was our old president, was sort of the main like founder of the club, that really like led all of that. And then our current vice president, co-vice president, and treasurer, Javier, ran for treasurer with me. And then I ran for secretary. And then the next semester we kind of had to start like, okay, like we said, we want to do all these things. We have to start like really building that foundation, which was really difficult, trying to figure out like, okay, letting people know that we exist. Then also figuring out like what do students want to see, like what are people going to attend. So trying out a lot of different things, like trying out study nights, trying out game nights, trying out speakers, and just kind of figuring out, okay, what is sticking, what is bringing the most people, and it was the speakers. So that's really what we're focusing more on now. So I ran for president in the spring because Madison's graduating, and now here I am. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work trying to get speakers, trying to continue just like letting people know that we exist, increasing our membership and our membership retention. I've taken a lot of inspiration from other like CBE clubs, like the investment group namely, and I think I've told people from the investment group this. Like I'm honestly looking to them as inspo because they are such like an amazing organization. They have had so much success, and like that is my vision for us. It's going to take a long time to get there. They've been around a lot longer than us, but I'm just hoping that at least by the time I graduate, we're on our way there so it can continue when I'm gone.
And so like when you're coordinating this with your team, right? So how do you guys kind of go about event planning? Like so you guys have a sit-down conversation? Or?
Yeah, so we sit down. At the beginning of the semester, we sit down. We say, like, what events do we want to do this semester? We don't need to be making a set calendar, a set timeline, but, like, what do we think people want to see? And so some of those ideas were, like, securities lawyers, because we have a lot of people who are going to be in finance that would be really helpful here to hear from, even if they aren't studying business law. Women in law panel, hearing from paralegals, just hearing from like diverse groups. Like we make a set plan for this, and then as we go through the semester, it's honestly like telling everyone like, I need you to sit here and send LinkedIn messages. Like sometimes I have to be mean. I'm like, guys, you're gonna sit here and you're gonna message someone. But like it works. I mean, sending LinkedIn messages, just hoping someone replies, reaching out to different professors saying, do you know anyone who'd be interesting, who would be willing to come to speak to us? Yeah, I text them a lot. Our little business law club exec board group chat, I'm always being like, guys, we need to do this, guys, this is flyer, look okay. Like I am totally spamming people at like 3 a.m. But I have a really good exec board and they listen to me and they put up with it.
So speaking about event planning and speaking about special guests, there was a special guest that you, and so it was the TU Business Law X, collaboration with the, TU Investment Group. So what was this event called again?
I don't know if we really had an event. It's just like...
Because it had a guest...
So we had a guest speaker. His name is David Lin. I found him on LinkedIn, and I literally sent him the message being like, should you be willing to speak to us? And I honestly thought he was not going to reply because based on his profile, I was like, this guy is like definitely like really busy. Like there's no way he's going to have time. But he messaged back, and it turns out he lived in the Towson area and was like, yeah, like I'll speak to you guys. He's a securities lawyer. He used to work for the SEC, which I thought was really interesting. And so I kind of got him like on board, and then I went to Andrew from the investment group and I said, like, would you guys willing to collaborate with us on this? Especially because I knew they have such like a strong like, membership. Like they always get a really good crowd, and I was like, I would really love if we could collab on this. That way I can kind of take advantage of the fact that you guys have a big crowd. And it was like, luckily they all said yes, and then we had a really great turnout.
So how's it been, trying to get outreach, or are you basically the outreach? Because is there a position that's outreach in your team?
We all kind of help a little bit with it. Cami, who's our co-vice president, does a lot of that with like social media. And then we just like put up our flyers and like word of mouth, like hope for the best. It's something that we are always trying to work on. Yeah.
Hey man, I'm surprised y'all didn't, I shouted y'all out.
We're doing pretty good for the fact we didn't exist a couple years, like 2 years ago, we didn't exist.
I went to there was like a collaboration. I don't know if Venture Club was a collaboration last year or something. But
yeah, it was like an unofficial collaboration. But like a lot of people from Venture Club went to that one. Yeah, that was with Matthew Fisher, who's an attorney. And so I had him come speak to us, but he's dating one of my mom's friends, which is why I was like, okay, whoa. I'm gonna like, my mom was like, he's coming to trivia night at this one restaurant. You need to go so you can get him for your club. So I was like, fine, like I'll go to this thing. And I was like trying to like make connections. And then eventually I was like, can you just come speak to my club? Because this was like really early on. We didn't necessarily have the foundation that we do now for getting guest speakers. Mm-hmm. He was like literally like our like second or third guest speaker we ever had. I think our first one that wasn't a Towson professor. So it was like, that was really helpful, I think, and then getting people to kind of know who we were. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we're doing better now. I mean, we have like 3 events coming up this month. 3 guest speaker events.
Shout them out.
Oh my gosh, I can't remember. So next week we have. Okay, one of the weeks, I can't remember the order. One of the weeks this month, we have a guy named Garrick Ross. He's a Towson alum. He works for the IRS. He's an attorney for the IRS. Okay. He only graduated a couple years ago. So, yeah, Garrick Ross is on October 15th. And then October 22nd, we have a Women in Law panel. We have a couple of different attorneys coming for that. I'm very, very excited for that. And on October 29th, we're doing another event on securities law and corporate law with Hunter Haynes, who's also a Towson alum.
So with all these alums and all these like guest stars, what are you trying to get out to the students in this club? Like, what are you trying to push?
Yeah. I don't come from a family that has like lawyers. I think a lot of people that go into the legal field, or that at least talk to, like at Towson, who are wanting to go into law, like their dad's a lawyer, their sister's a lawyer, like their grandpa, really? Like they have other people in their family. It's historically been a field like that, and it's changing now to more people, but like
I don't think I have a lawyer.
Yeah, okay. My uncle, who my aunt just married him in July, is a lawyer.
Congrats.
But I'm like, I didn't grow up knowing any lawyers really. Mm-hmm. So wanting to go into that field, I was like, I don't even really know what's out there. I don't know what life as a lawyer is like. I don't know anything about the law school application process, because that's it's difficult. Mm-hmm. I was like, I need to learn about this. And I'm assuming that a lot of other people at Towson also don't know anything about this, but how else are we going to get people to go into this field if nobody's providing the resources and opportunities to talk to lawyers? So that's kind of like what I've been trying to do, and trying to get people from like diverse fields of business law, I guess. Mm-hmm. People who do litigation, people who are just transactional, people who work for the IRS, people who work for like county governments, all kinds of things, to try and just give people a more well-rounded view about the opportunities that they have.
So what exact lawyer are you trying to be? What is your path?
After this summer, I think I want to do like international law. I didn't really know before my internship, and then that kind of helped me realize I think I would like to continue working on more of like a global scale. Mm-hmm. But still figuring it out. I'm open to change. We'll see where I go.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And so like me I'm a healthcare management major, right? So could I join this club and be like...
Yeah, no, it's major inclusive, open to anyone. I especially think it's good to have people that aren't in business law. I mean, Javier, who's treasurer and co-vice president, is not a business law minor. He's not studying business law. He's studying finance. But I think it's still useful to know about the legal profession and know what is going on, to just have a better and more rounded view of business and of the world, really.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And so, how do you actually like take, study abroad at your job at study abroad,
Yeah.
and then your president job, basically a job at the TU Business Law Club, and how do you kind of like, and you got school on top of that. How do you?
And I'm also treasurer of Phi Sigma Pi, the National Honor Fraternity.
Hey, yeah, tell that
And
out.
I have a retail job on the weekends.
So how do you like just keep grinding?
One, my Google Calendar is my best friend. I plan out honestly like every single second of my day on there. Just being organized is really helpful. Having strong people in your life, so not even just like your friends and your family that are really supportive, but also, I mean, I could not do everything that I do if I didn't have supportive work environments for my job. People who are going to be understanding of maybe I'm like stressed one day, who are going to understand why, and who are going to just want me to be succeeding. And like, it sounds bad, people who want me to eventually not work there because they want me to be doing the things that I love and in my career path someday. And that's so helpful. But also, sometimes you just gotta like lock in. Like, I don't know.
Lock in.
You just kind of have to, I have like a vision of what I know my future can look like. And once you realize like that is where I'm meant to be, like I want to do everything I can to get there.
And the topic of, future especially. So I seen you I was in attendance as well at the Skills to Pay Your Bills event, correct? And you were there.
Yeah.
Why were you there?
I was there to, okay, there's a lot of reasons I was there. Sometimes I feel like I don't have enough practical knowledge, especially in financial literacy, which is a little silly, considering like how much time I spend in Stevens Hall. I just think sometimes it's really good to just get like a reminder of like what really do you need to be doing to set yourself up for success. And again, just talk to people like business professionals who have been in the field for years and just kind of get advice from them. That's a big part of why I like to go to events like that. Like why I keep going to investment group events, even though I don't want to work in finance really. I just think it's useful you can still get advice and inspiration from people, even if they're not in your field.
I need to listen to her. And so, there was 2 rooms, right? There was 2 rooms when you broke out. I can't remember the other room, but it was like our room was like maybe like what, like developing like your skills. I don't know. But like, why did you pick that room? It was like something like
because I was sitting next to a really nice girl in the first session, and I asked her where she was going, and I was like, I'm gonna go to the same one as you because you're really nice, and I want to be your friend.
Oh, I thought you were gonna have like a groundbreaking.
No, I actually don't have a groundbreaking answer for that. That was just me saying I don't really have a preference of which one I'll go to, so I'll go to the one that has nice people that I know.
Okay.
Yeah,
and so,
that was it.
Going, back to, your future. So, would you want to stay in Italy and do that practice?
Potentially. It's, it's a little complicated, because their system of, like, law school, everything is very, very different than the U.S. So, it can be hard sometimes with, like, the legal field to go from being an American to getting like a lawyer job there. It's not really something I think I would want. I think I more want to be working with like international companies. Not necessarily like being a lawyer in Italy.
So international.
Working on like a little bit like a grander outside scale. So
I'm trying to break this down in my head, like international companies. So like let's name one international company that you would like.
That I would like to work for?
Yeah.
Under Armour, they're an international company. Like, there's so many companies that are international where they need people to help them. Like, if you want to sell products in another country, you have to get, like, licenses for that and things like that. But also, I mean, I am interested in more of, like, the governmental side of things as well, like European Union affairs and, like, the Department of State and, like, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the EU, right? So the EU is way different than, America and, So
It's a unique structure.
yeah, very unique structure. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
About the EU?
Yeah, about the EU.
It's a I don't know you're gonna ask me about this. It's I think like 26 countries, something like that, and they sort of have a partnership. So they all use the euro. That's a big thing. A common currency just really helps there be less barriers between trade, especially because a lot of these countries, I'm thinking about how big the US is. We don't necessarily need that in the same way. I mean, we can have agreements with like Canada and Mexico just because geographically that can make things easier. But I mean, if we're talking about like population, even like Italy's not a similar population to the US. It's a lot smaller. So maybe to work on a similar like economic scale just makes sense to have partnerships with other countries nearby. It just helps there be less barriers, I think, between like travel and like trade and business. Yeah.
And so, like, what would be your plan, like, bridging the gap between these two countries? Because you're a U.S. citizen.
I am a U.S. citizen.
And going to Italy and the EU, like, how would you bridge the gap?
In, like, a business sense?
Yes.
I think there's already a lot of trade that is mutually beneficial. We're thinking about like a lot of like luxury goods importing is like what a lot of people would think of for Italy, like wine importation, clothes importation. I mean, think about how many of the top fashion houses in the world are headquartered in Milan. It's a lot of them.
Really?
Yes.
I
went to Milan during Men's Fashion Week. And
that was probably beautiful.
That was so good. I saw some interesting styles. But yeah, I think it's important to continue global trade. But even something sort of outside of business, I think it's important to have global connections. I think it's important to have cultural appreciation. I think it's important to know what other people's lives are like, what other people's history is like. I think it's important to be like a well-rounded global citizen, and that's just what I want for everyone.
Talking about citizens, like, so what do you do? You know, what is the day of the life of Grace Moore here at Towson? Like, what makes you?
You want to hear? I can tell you what I did today if you want
Go
that.
ahead.
This morning I had Finance 331, and then I went to work at the Study Abroad and Away office where I visited. I worked on blog posts. I worked on social media. I did group advising to help students figure out what their options are. And then I came here. Okay, that's not very exciting today. But then after this, I'm going to a service event for Phi Sigma Pi. Yeah, okay. So long days. Usually my days consist of anywhere between 1 to 3 classes, sometimes more depending on the semester. I've had days where I have like 5 classes in a day. Usually I work somewhere in between all of those. Working on campus makes that really easy because I can go in for like a 2-hour shift, or I can work like an hour, go to class, go back to work. And then I pretty much always have at least like one extracurricular going on.
So what do you do to like relax? Like, you know what I'm saying? You know, mental health, you know, is important.
Yeah, no, it's important. Like I said, my Google Calendar is my best friend.
She don't relax, yo.
No, I swear I do. I get a lot of, like, to me, going to a lot of my extracurriculars is relaxing. I feel like I do get satisfaction out of that. And especially, like, going to things where I'm not necessarily leading it, like going to, like, the investment group. It's nice though to go to a club and I'm not on the exec board. Because then I kind of get to turn that part of my brain off a little bit and really just, like, learn. One thing I do that helps me is when I get ready every morning,